all right, what exactly is relevant content? Again, level setting, to use a little bit of marketing jargon. I feel like I can do that here. And because I am an SEO at heart, the gospel according to Google is the first place I start. And looking at their webmaster blog, Google really clearly identifies what they look for when they're looking to rank content. The first one, pages that clearly and accurately describe the topic. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, right? For all of us who write content, you want something that is clear and accurate. That's true for content creators and content consumers. The second part here is thinking about the words the users would type when you're actually creating your content and embedding those in the content. That really drives down to that keyword research. And I know keyword research can get a bad rap. It can kind of has a little bit of a sullied reputation. But keyword research is still really crucial to making sure that you have any sort of organic visibility. Google is wicked smart, but not omnipotent yet. So that's the reason why we need to have video transcripts or image alt tags, because Google can't just consume a piece of content and just know what it is and how to rank it. Words are still at the root of how the crawlers understand content and then rank it accordingly, which is why keyword research is still an important part of your content creation journey. And then the third part, according to Google, is sort of the meat of it all. Give visitors information they're looking for. It's a really short sentence, and it kind of packs a punch. This here is where Google is referring to relevant content. So what Google's saying they want is what we all want as consumers, right? Is you want the answer to your question, but you don't just want the answer to the question. So for an example, let's say I'm typing in how to brown butter, and that's the general query. So as a content creator, you could just say, all right, I'm going to write a quick few sentence blurb about how to brown butter, maybe create a video, because we know how-tos and videos often go hand in hand. Great, that's fantastic. But me as the searcher, I have a lot more questions, sort of these micro questions that envelop the general higher level query. So yeah, I want to know how to brown butter, but I also want to know how much butter do I need to use? Is there a difference between salted and unsalted butter? Can I use a stainless steel pan, or does it have to be one of those Corningware pans? How hot should the temperature be? Do I need to be stirring it the whole time? What do I do with the browned butter once I have it? How do I know when it's browned? How do I know when it's burnt? If it's burnt butter, can I still use the butter? Can I freeze brown butter? What recipes can I use brown butter in the future? There are all these little teeny tiny questions that ladder up to answering, how do I brown butter? And that's where we really get into relevant content, making sure that you're not just answering the surface question, but you're answering all those little teeny tiny questions that surround and support the general query to make sure that you're providing your audience what they're looking for. And that's also what Google's looking for when they rank content. So why are we talking about relevant content now? That's a great question, and honestly, it's just because the algorithm has finally caught up with Google. So we all know Google is a massive money-making machine, and they want to keep making money by keeping people happy. So that means providing the best quality results as fast and as accurately as they can so people stay on Google and don't move to like Bing or Dogpile or whatever other search engine you might be using. And so to do this, they keep tweaking and updating their algorithm as they get smarter and as the algorithm itself gets smarter, because robots are now teaching robots, and it's terrifying. So starting way back in February 2011, we had Panda, which is just really looking at that duplicative content. Moving forward a year to 2012, we've got Penguin, which is getting rid of those link farms, making sure spammy link practices aren't a thing anymore. Then we have August of 2013, Hummingbird rolls out. This was sort of like a seismic event from an SEO perspective. This is where Google updated their algorithm to target that search intent. So Google receives trillions of searches every single year, and 15% of them they've never seen before, ever, which is a huge percentage when we're talking about trillions of searches. So Google had to be able to update their algorithm to identify what that intent is, either for those brand new searches or for searches with ambiguous questions, right? So I don't know, like, what is seal, or just seal in general. You've got the singer, and then you've got the actual animal, right? So just trying to figure out what is that search intent behind the query. 2014, we have Pigeon, looking mostly at local search. 2015, and then 16, and then 17, and then 2018, we've got the mobile rollout. That's like really slow rollout. There's another session on here about the mobile rollout if that's what you're really interested in. And then later in 2015, RankBrain came out, which is all about machine learning. So this is, again, trying to understand that 15% that Google's never seen before and help identify what is the most relevant content that's going to best meet that search intent as fast as possible. Fun fact about RankBrain, they did a test between RankBrain, so the actual algorithm, and then a human. Turns out RankBrain is more accurate than humans are, which, again, is terrifying. We should welcome our robot overlords. They're coming sooner than we expect. And finally, why do we care about relevant content now? Consumers, they just expect it, right? People expect quality, well-rounded, well-written content quickly as soon as they're searching for it. And people are searching for more things than they ever have in the past. So just think about like 5, 6, 7 years ago, you would have gone to your physician to ask them about that weird rash you have. But now you go to Google and you type in a description of your weird rash and expect Google to answer it for you, right? So people expect this relevant content immediately. That's why we're talking about it today. And in essence, relevant content is essentially just a new name for that same old gold standard we've always had. Quality, helpful content for your audience. We're just talking about it now because Google can finally rank it. Okay, we're all on the same page, right? Relevant content, I'm in. Okay, cool. I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to assume your silence is a yes. So we've got a few next steps we're going to talk through. Understand what content you have, so doing a content audit. Know what consumers are looking for. This is where keyword research comes into play. Examine your share of voice in your competitors' content, so know who's winning and why they're winning. And then finally, identifying your gaps and your opportunities by layering all of this data together. All right, let's start with your content audit. It's a really short phrase that has a lot of implication and a lot of time dedicated to it, right? The first step is cataloging your content. So you can do this with tools like Screaming Frog, just crawling your site and understanding what you have, and then cataloging it based on directory. So if you have a well-organized website and a nice, clean URL structure, it's super easy to catalog your website. You just make sure that you're doing it by subdirectory. Boom, you've got it nice and cataloged. If your URL structure is not quite as nice and neatly laid out as you might wish, this cataloging and organizing of your content could take a little bit more time. And from here, I just want to give a quick caveat that throughout this entire process, I'm assuming that you know your business goals before you're starting this process. Because knowing what your goal is really helps define and make your choices all along this entire process. Right? So if you have let's say you're working towards a 5-year goal of increasing your share of voice 10% for just general awareness. Awesome, that's a really great goal. That's going to dictate what content you're looking at and how you're examining your content and what your opportunities might be. Versus, let's say you're rolling out a brand new product and you're trying to support that in the next year. That's a very different goal, and it's going to kind of shift the way that you're looking at your metrics. So just making sure that you have your goals top of mind as you're making all of these decisions is crucial. All right, so you've cataloged your content. You understand now how much you have in each directory or by each topic. You understand if you've got video or perhaps infographics or images, etc. The next step is to understand how is it performing. And from here, you can look at a variety of sources. I highly recommend looking at Google Search Console. It's free. There's a lot of really cool information here, especially from an organic visibility perspective. So from here, you can go into Google Search Console and see what keywords are people typing into Google, and not Dogpile or Bing, but to find your content and actually see your pages. Or what pages are people actually seeing and engaging with clicks to actually come to your site from organic search. From there, you can also look at your other analytics sources. So whether that's Google Analytics, Adobe, maybe you've got Salesforce data that you're layering on top of that, whatever your analytics source is, go on in and look to see how that content is performing once people find you. And again, this is going to ladder back to your business goals. So what content is performing well is going to differ from one company to another company based on your goals. But making sure that you're looking at the metrics as a whole as opposed to one metric at a time, because it's that really tricky balance to make sure that you want to look at your key metrics as sort of your indicators of what's performing well, but knowing that measurements can never exist in a bubble. So time on site is a really easy one to pick on, right? you could look at a page and say, oh, there's really long time on site. People are super engaged. We should do more of this. Alternatively, if you look at the rest of the metrics around that page, you might see there's a super high bounce rate. Conversions are really low. And when you look at the path, people are landing on this page and not going any further into your site. And that gives you a little bit more of a well-rounded look at your content. And you might say, okay, so people are spending a lot of time on site because they don't know what they're doing, they don't know their next step, they're confused, and they're leaving. Maybe we shouldn't do more of this. All right, so you've understood what you have, how is it performing? Next step. What is the opportunity out there in general? This is where keyword research comes into play. And again, because I have SEO roots, keyword research is one of my absolute favorite things. It's so much fun to understand what are the trends out there, how are people searching, what words are they using, what topics get any sort of seasonality. People search for really weird things. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But keyword research is a great way to understand where is the opportunity at a really macro level. There are a ton of tools that I have listed here. Something that I learned, did anybody else sit in Courtney's presentation yesterday? In any case, she had a really excellent point too, that you don't want to overlook your internal resources when doing keyword research and simply rely on tools. You also want to make sure that you're looking at your internal site search, right? You want to make sure you're talking to your sales team or your help desk, because those people know the questions that you're getting asked by your customers, as opposed to keyword research, which is the general population as a whole. So making sure that you don't forget those internal resources is really crucial when you're doing your keyword research. Another fun little tangent here on keyword research is if quick answers or voice search is really popular in your company, it's really popular with a lot of my clients. It's sort of like the hot topic right now. Looking at the questions that you find in keyword research can be a really good way to identify what are those sort of baitable quick answers. So quick answers tend to be answering questions, right? Because it's an answer to a question. So when you find these questions in your keyword research, that can be a really excellent place to start for your quick answer opportunities. All right, so you've understood what you have, how's it performing, what are people searching for in general, so what's the world? And now let's look at our competitors and see what are they doing well from an organic search perspective. Where are they getting visibility? And the first thing you probably want to look at are your business competitors. So those are your competitors that you actually compete with for dollars at the end of the day or conversions, whatever that may be. And you can look at them to see where are they doing really well from an organic search space, where are they getting that visibility. And from here, you can also start identifying where those opportunities might be. It could be that your competitors have a ton of content on one specific topic, but you know that topic way better than they do. You have much better expertise there, and you have very little content. This might be a place where you've decided you're not willing to give up that share of voice, and it's a place where you need to start developing more content or optimizing the content you already have to try to take some of that share of voice away from them. Alternatively, knowing your business goals, you might say, yep, you know, that competitor has a lot of share of voice there, but our business goal is totally different. That's really low potatoes or tiny potatoes for us, so we're just going to ignore it and focus on something else. Another thing to consider here is that your business competitors are often a very different set than your search competitors. So your search competitors are people who are taking up their organic share of voice, so actually competing for the eyeballs on topics that matter to your business, but don't necessarily sell or offer the products that you offer, the services. So an example might be, let's say you sell fishing gear, and you know that Bob's Bait Shop and Joe's Tackle Joint, I clearly don't fish, I don't know why I chose this example, are your business competitors. So you're tracking them, but you look at a search space comparison and you realize that you're actually competing with Wikipedia for general queries. You're competing with Amazon for products that you're selling. You're competing with state websites for information on lakes or rivers. So that's where you start to look and understand that your search space competitors are not the same as your business competitors, and it's important to consider both when observing your share of voice. The last bit here is looking at topic modeling to really understand who's winning and the why are they winning. Looking at topic modeling is a really nice manual way to do this without any tools. When we do topic modeling, we do it at scale using a tool called GetStat. So we can upload our entire keyword research list into there, download all the URLs that are ranking on page 1, and from there we can start doing some pretty nifty analysis to understand percentages of .gov versus .com versus, I don't know, international sites that are ranking for a topic, or images versus video, or long form versus short form, etc. But you don't have to have a tool in order to do this. You can instead use topic modeling. It's just a little bit more time intensive, and it's just a little bit more manual. And to do this, it's super low tech. You can just open up an incognito browser, actually Google the topic, and then look at page 1 and make notes of who's ranking, and then actually click through and read the content. A lot of times, especially from an SEO perspective, we rely on tools to do a lot of our work, but nothing is better than actually reading through who's ranking on page 1, reading the content, and trying to understand what's similar about these 10, 12, 11 pieces of content that are ranking on page 1. What do they have in common? Is it all long form? What questions are they answering? Do they use images? Do they use videos, etc.? So using this topic modeling is a really great way to understand the why of who's winning and why.